Hey everyone, Team Pilot here, EnvyAstro, and for those that pre-ordered the Tokio X, this is what you'll be receiving. So in the package, it comes with some FlightClub stickers, the FlightClub logo and the FlightClub small logo. We have a FlightClub custom strap, a custom 3D printed mount for your camera, some screws, a battery protector, the hardware for the frame, the custom canopy design, and of course the frame. But in this video I'm gonna be building a different frame. So this here is the Tokio X that you guys are used to, and this here is a prototype stretched X that we are working on. And on this video my plan is to show you guys tips and tricks that I use for my builds. And me as a racer, I usually tend to go a different route. Instead of making it super clean, I try to make it clean and durable for those hard impact crashes. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be showing you guys today in this video. It's not going to be a detailed video. That's for Mike later on. But yeah guys, I'm going to be showing you guys the Stretched X prototype frame and how to build it. So let's get started with the electronics. So this here are the electronics that I usually go with on all my builds. The reason for is because they are very reliable and have been reliable for quite some time now. First off, let's start with the motors. So these are the F40 Pros 2600 kV edition. Next up, this is a 4-in-1 Cicada 35 amp ESC rated 2 to 4S. The reason for 4-in-1 is because it just makes builds such cleaner than regular individual ESCs, and pretty much once you go with a 4-in-1 ESC, you really wouldn't want to go back to regular ESCs. Next up, we have my trustworthy KISS flight controller. I have been flying this flight controller for about a year now, and it has been very reliable for me, so I always go with this for a flight controller. Next up, we have the VTX. This is a TBS Unify. I have this on all my quads. Some race events require for you to run 25 milliwatts, so this does 25 milliwatt and 200 milliwatts because this is a race edition VTX. And for those guys that don't go to main races like MotoGP, Nationals or stuff like that, that they require for you to have a right or left antenna, I highly recommend getting this whip antenna with your TBS Unify. This pretty much clips right on at this part right here, and it has great reception, and pretty much that little whip could be hidden inside the canopy and you will never have to either break or mess with antennas. Next up, we have a receiver here. I usually use the XSR because it's pretty small in size and it has telemetry and it does S-Bus, so that's what I usually go with. And last but not least, this is the Aero V3 camera. I really have been enjoying this camera due to the OSD that it comes with. So now let's start off the build and give you guys some tips and tricks what I usually do on my builds. So the first step that I usually like taking on my builds is starting out with the motors. And then usually what I tend to do after that is get a little bit of blue Loctite. You can get this at like Walmart, Walgreens, AutoZone, places like that. Put a little dab of some blue Loctite, and what this allows, it allows for the screw to bond a little bit better and stronger with the motor. So whenever you have like micro oscillations on your frame, they won't come loose mid-flight or something like that. Because I have had motors come loose whenever I didn't used to use blue Loctite. So I will be mounting all these motors and I'll get back to you once I get to the 4-in-1. So before we mount this thing on the frame, one thing I really like doing is, if you guys aren't familiar with this is Bondic. This is about like 20-25 bucks on Amazon, but if you don't have that much, there is a cheaper version. It works exactly the same. So what I like doing is I like getting some of this right around the port of the ESCs, so just like that. Pretty much just put it all around. Make sure you get it nice and neat, and it's real easy to take off if you ever for some reason want to take off that port and do a direct solder. Alright, so now once you covered it, the product comes with this little UV light, and that's pretty much how it sets and bonds. So you put that for a few seconds around it, just like that. Okay, by now it should be dry. So by doing that, it would help this port to stay on in like really hard crashes, and pretty much over time it just makes the bond stronger. So now let's mount this. So now that I have wired up the motor wires to the 4-in-1 ESC, another thing I like doing to have these motor wires held down is getting some tape and cutting it right in half. So what I do is usually lay it down on my table just like so. I get my razor blade, corner that off a little bit, and then just run it down right down the middle and pretty much cut it right down in half. And what this does, it makes the tape a lot thinner and still pretty much works exactly the same. It's just a lot thinner and you won't have that thick piece of tape holding the motor wire down. So I'm gonna add this tape and then we'll move on to the FC. Before I go ahead and wire up the flight controller to the 4-in-1 ESC, one thing I do like to do for a more easier fit is get my razor blade and then put it in through the hose and pretty much make, what this is going to do is make the hose bigger for them to fit a lot easier on your standoffs whenever you're trying to insert it. So I tend to do this on all 4 hoses, of course. And you may be asking why I'm not using a drill or another tool to do this. The reason for me not using a different tool is because by using a drill, I have messed up the edges of the board where it over does the hose and it ends up breaking the edge, so it won't have anything to grab on anymore. But by doing that, it has that nice easy fit, and that also helps with any vibrations. But with this frame, of course, we have the butter mount, which would eliminate any vibrations to the flight controller, which you could go ahead and hard mount straight into the standoff without having to worry about any dampening between the standoff and the flight controller. It's all comes in with a feature of the frame. So let's get this thing wired up and then I hit you guys back up when I'm done with that. So here we are, just finished wiring up all the flight controller ESC signals and power. So as you can see, also I went ahead and put the receiver. The receiver antennas are coming out towards the back. The reason for is because I like having my port out at the front because it clears it up with the kids flight controller usually. And I like having my antennas towards the back also because after you're stacked up and everything, the antennas come out forward, and then the canopy also has these little holes where you could go ahead and put the antennas if you use those little holes. But me, I personally don't, because I like having my antennas inside the canopy because that helps with protecting your antennas whenever you're racing. And whenever you're racing, you don't really need the full potential of the RSSI from the receiver. So whenever you're racing, having them inside the canopy is pretty much what you need, and then you'll have them protected too. So I'm about to plug that into this, but before I always do that, I always take out the wires I'm not going to be needing. How I do that is I have a razor blade, and you can just go ahead and lift off the pad that the thing is holding it on, and then you'll pull it right out. And in this case is the green one because this is the PPM cable, and I keep the white, yellow, power and ground. You pretty much, the white is your S-bus, the yellow is for your telemetry, and then of course power and ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder that on, and then I'm gonna show you guys another tip that I do after it's soldered on. So you want to get your Bondic again if you ended up using this, and what I like doing is putting some of this around these little connectors. And the reason for is because these connectors aren't silicone wiring, so they're more sustained for ripping during crashes and all of that. I mean, and even if you are using silicone wiring, I still like doing this because it helps it just a lot more whenever you're crashing a lot, and it helps it be more durable. So I know right now the build, it looks pretty bad because you have all these wires pretty much hanging out. And this is one thing I had whenever I first started using 4-in-1s. I asked myself, where am I going to get all my power? Where's my PDB? But pretty much the 4-in-1 becomes its own PDB. I don't know if you can see these 2 pads right here, these power leads. That's pretty much where you have to solder everything up. So I mean, if you're not 100% comfortable with soldering on these little small pads, you might need to just learn how to do it, because if you plan on using 4-in-1s and making your builds a lot cleaner, 4-in-1s just have that one pad. I know there's going to be some more 4-in-1s coming out with pads that we might start carrying, but for now we have the Cicada 35 amp, which you have to get everything from those 2 pads. So here I got my wiring for my LEDs later on. I have my VTX connector soldered onto there, and I have these power leads coming out of those ports as well. So I'm about to plug it up to the computer, get all my settings on there, and then hopefully try to fire it up, and hopefully we don't see any smoke. Now I went ahead and installed the camera, wired up the flight controller to the computer, and then put my Deans. The reason I use Deans, and I highly recommend this, is because I used to use XT60s, but I used to go through XT60s so much, especially this one week, and I went through like 6 or 7 XT60s on one weekend. So that's what made me swap. And ever since I swapped to Deans, which has been like what, 5-6 months ago, I have not had any issue with one. And as you can tell, my battery looks a little different. That's because I like heat shrinking my batteries. Thanks to one of my friends known as Adam20. He's the one that pretty much started this trend around here, and they have helped my batteries last a lot longer by having this heat shrink. And for those that would like to do that, this is the heat shrink that I buy. This is 1.5 inch size heat shrink. Is like $10 at Fry's, and you could just get you some of this and then wrap your batteries around it, and they protect your batteries really well. And then another thing I do is use Velcro. So I use soft Velcro on this, and then the other part on the bottom of this. And then with that, whenever you're racing, your batteries are like 90% less likely to eject and end up somewhere else. So another tip too that I like doing with the Aero V3, since that's the camera I am using, and this is a harness for it, I usually do take out the power, ground, and video out using the same method I did for the receiver. So I lift these 3 little plastic things that will release the wire, and just pull these out. That's pretty much what I like doing. And the reason for it is because the TBS Unify, it gives out 5 volts straight output power for the camera, and that's how I power up my camera. And I do the same thing at the end of the TBS Unify connector. And now I just put it in the same sequence that it was, which was power, ground, and video. And that way I don't have to do any soldering between the wire, and I don't have to risk the fact that during a crash this may desolder or some. This is just becomes one solid wire across the board. So that's one thing I really like doing. And I know I am powering up the camera with the 5 volt, but the thing I do like about the Aeros is that it comes with this this blue wire. I'm sorry, this blue wire is the V-Sense, meaning you put that wire coming out of the power from your 4-in-1 ESC, and it would read you the exact voltage of your battery with that little wire. So that's usually what I tend to do, and it works out great. So you have telemetry and OSD on your camera if you'd like. So let me go ahead and wire this back up, and then I'll power it up for you guys. Okay, so now it's time to power this bad boy up and hope for 0 magic smoke. Oh yeah, no smoke. So now all I need to do is bind up my controller, set up my LEDs, slap the canopy on there, and we're ready to go. But before I do that, what I do for my VTX, because you probably you guys are wondering where am I gonna set it, I have a little plate which we do plan on giving this out with the batch 2 frames. We might 3D print this little plate, or have a G10 or carbon fiber plate to set your VTX, and that's pretty much what I'm doing here. I put another set of standoffs. I don't know if you can see that, but I put this on top of this here, and then what this allows me to do, it gives me the space to put on my flight controller. Put it over my flight controller and put my VTX right there. Have it placed just like sideways for the antenna to go out. So this way, and then the antenna comes out the back like that. And that gives me the chance to go ahead and press the button with the canopy hole, which is right here, like easily, maybe even with your finger or with a little small screwdriver or something like that, similar. And with that, let me go ahead and pop up my LEDs, slap the canopy on like I said, and then I'll give you guys what the final product's gonna look like. Thing I forgot to mention is that you guys may be asking how to unlock the TBS Unify, because I know some people still find that confusing, and I'm about to show you guys. So the TBS does come with this little card that shows you like all the code and everything, what it means, but I'll enlarge this for you guys, like maybe somewhere on here. But let's go ahead and power it up. And notice that my Unify doesn't have an antenna, but it has the pigtail. That's because the Unify is made for not having an antenna whenever it's powered up. It does just fine. So the way you unlock this is currently has two menus when it's not unlocked. So notice how if I hold it, the blue light will come on. That's one blink for the orange, meaning you're in the channel selection, in the channel menu. And so it's blinking one orange and one blue. So that's channel 1. Say I want to do it on channel 4. So we will keep holding it until there's 4 blinks. So there's 1, 2, you have 3 blinks, and now 4 blue blinks. That's channel 4. After you get to choose what channel you're on, you hold it again, and now notice that the orange just blinked twice. So that means you're in the band menu. So the band menu is where you choose either Fat Shark, Race Band, E band, B band, stuff like that. So for E band, which what I usually like going to, it's 3 blinks on the blue one. So I'll push it 1, 2. So we're 2, and now that should be 3 blue blinks. So the whole code is going to be behind here. So as you can see, it says channel. This is the first 1 orange, band is 2, and then 3 for power. But like I said, the VTX does come locked, so you're gonna have to unlock it. So to unlock it, you have to be in the second menu, which is the band menu. And after this, you hold it for about 25 to 30 seconds. So you'll see both lights turn on like that for a while. And whenever you know it's unlocked, the blue light will just shut off, and then the orange will confirm it by blinking 3 times. That means you have unlocked it for the power menu. So let's keep holding it. And there we go. The blue light went off, and as you can see, the orange light is now blinking 3 times. There we go. And then 1 blink for the blue. So what that means that it comes stock 25 since it's only blinking once. So for racing, we want it at 200 milliwatts, so we wanted to blink twice for the blue. So we will just click it 1 more time. That's 3 for orange, and that's 2 for blue. I don't know if you guys can see that. And after you guys have picked your channel and frequency and all of that, what you do, you have to save it before you power it back off. So you'll have to go all the way to the last menu, which is the power. So 3 blinks on the orange, which we already there. And now just to save it, you just wait, and then you wait for that light to stay on. And once it stays on, then you could just power off, and then that should have saved your frequency. Let's go ahead and confirm it by plugging in the battery and checking if it's on frequency E4. And so for the channel menu, we should see 1 blink from the orange, and 4 for the channel. Then it should switch to 2 blinks for the orange and 3 for the blue, and then 3 for the orange and 2 for the blue. And that's for E4. So that's 1 blink. That's E4. So we're channel 4. 1, 2, 3. So that's E4. And then see what power. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Okay, so we are on E4, and now both lights should stay on like that as you stay powered up. So we are on E4. And now I'm just gonna finish it up and show you guys the final product. Here we are with the complete build already ready to go. But one last tip I would like to give you guys is one thing I like doing with my antennas. So notice that I put some electric tape right here, and that's because usually when you're screwing it into the pigtail, you have to hold this little thing, the antenna, and then turn this around for it to screw. But by having the electric tape, all you have to do is screw the whole antenna, and then the antenna screws in there on its own, and that's just much easier for me. So that's something I like doing. So those that are curious with the weight, let's go ahead and weigh this thing. So we are looking at 337. And just for comparison, let's go ahead and weigh the Tokio X. We are at 340. So the stretched X, yet being a 220, it's 2 grams lighter, and I'm pretty much using the same electronics. I mean, the only difference, if anything, is slightly thick gauge wire. And because I believe this is like a 20 and this is 18 over here, so maybe those 2 grams make a difference. And just for those that do want to see how much our batteries weigh, this is our 1500 and it weighs 185. And keep in mind, I also have the heat shrink and my Velcro, which adds about like 4 or 5 grams, so it's under 180 usually. And this is a 1500. And this here is a battery that we are currently testing. This is an 1800 milliamp battery. Here's a little bit of comparison between the 1500, not so big, and this is weighing in at 209 grams, but this is an 1800. I'm really liking these batteries because I know there's some 1500s out there that are the same weight as this, and those are 1500s. This is an 1800, so I'm really liking this and the flight time I'm getting out of it. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And before I end the video, on the next video, stay tuned because we're going to be tuning this bad boy out. I'm going to be showing you guys what I do in my tuning sessions, because believe it or not, before I actually used to run kits on stock PIDs. It runs pretty good, but it wasn't until like about 2-3 months ago when I started tuning, because I started getting a little bit more picky about how my quad flew. And also I plan to give you guys a series of videos where I give you tips and tricks, not only on build videos, but the way I practice throughout my year of flying and things that help me out to become a better pilot. So stay tuned for that series, and don't forget to comment down below if you guys have any questions, and also don't forget to subscribe, and see you guys on the next one. Peace out.